I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. So I'm Mikey Bronowski, and I'm calling to you from the UK. As you can hear my accent, probably that's British. And I'm going to talk about the Elastic jobs in Azure SQL Database today, if my space works. So a few words about me. I have a wife and a 2 years old, almost 3 years old son who are sleeping in the other room right now. I'm currently database engineer in Southampton, UK, and I'm Microsoft certified trainer. And the last year, Microsoft decided to give me MVP award for data platform area. I write a blog on bronowski.it, and if you want to get in touch with me after this session, or if you have any other question, you can send me an email, mikeybronowski@gmail.com, or I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn. Yeah, I think that's these two places you can send me a message or follow me and send me a message then if you have any questions about SQL. So the agenda for today would be what are the Elastic jobs and how you can create them, how you can use them using the portal, Azure portal and PowerShell. I will show you 2 ways to do that. And I will tell you also why you might consider creating them. So let's start with the what. The Elastic jobs are basically the schedulers, the scheduled task to execute the SQL scripts in Azure SQL Database. They are still in preview. It's probably 4th year. I think I've seen them in 2018. So it's a few years now. And in short, there are a combo, a mix of SQL agent and MSX TSX for Azure SQL Database. So I will show you that in a demo, but if you haven't heard about MSX TSX, that's MSX stands for master server and TSX stands for target servers. So on premises, you can configure one SQL instance to be a master server for SQL agent and add the targets. So when you configure jobs on the master, you can redirect them to the target servers. And the Elastic Job Agent in Azure SQL Database works like that. And you can also expand that in Azure, where master MSX and TSX are not so flexible comparing to the Elastic jobs. Not so elastic. The Elastic jobs have 4 components, 4 main components. So the agent is the main one, where we need to configure that service in Azure. We also need a job database, which is a place where all the system procs tables are stored. It's very similar to MSDB database on premises. We need to have target groups, and that's a very clever thing to we can either have the whole instance, this whole Azure SQL server, or Azure SQL Database, or we can even have one server and exclude some databases. So that's a cool thing to do. And we have a job, and the job has to run idempotent SQL script that just runs whenever you run the job, it just completes. Okay, so it's not like you create a table in the first run and the second run it will just fail. It will have to be written this way that it doesn't fail. So these are the 4 components of the Elastic jobs. And I will show the process of how I'm going to create them in Portal, and it works for PowerShell as well. So first, I'm going to create some targets, target servers, and I will also create the database, SQL database for a job, and it's the S0 minimum. The basic one cannot be used here. It can be used for target, but it cannot be used for the job database. Then you need to create the Elastic Job Agent and all of these credentials. I'm not going to read the list. I will show you that, but just to have an idea, we need to have all these credentials in the master databases and the target databases and the job databases and so on. So I will show you that. No point of reading the whole list here. And it's good to have credentials separate for running the jobs on the target server and different credential to enumerate the databases on Azure SQL Server. So I will show you that as well. And we can also have credentials for extra job if the if the Elastic job needs to collect data from different servers. Like you can run the job against the targets and then save the outputs to the master database. And it's good to have different account with different permissions, just not to give one service account all the permissions. And after we have all these permissions, we can configure the target groups and the members, decide if we want to include databases, servers, or exclude something. And finally, create the Elastic job and assign to the target groups. So I'm going to show you now how it looks in the portal. This one is my backup for the PowerShell part, because one time when I was testing the demo, it took almost 50% longer than during the actual session. So I decided to do the backup just in case Azure is very overwhelmed with other users. So I'm going to create the new resource group, but first I will show you how to find the agent. So if you search for Elastic, you can see different options, but the Elastic job agent is here. I have my backup, so I'm not going to show you unless I have some problems later on. So you can create the Elastic job agent here. So let's start with this one. Well, and here you can see that we need to select the job database. So let's say it's triad agent. And we need to select the database and select the server. I don't have the server. These are all the backups. So I need to create one. So you can see from this menu, from this portal, from this wizard, you cannot really create all the things. And I guess that's because the service is still in preview. So it's missing some bits. So where in other places you can create object, and then if you are missing the server, you can create the server and then create something else. So Azure is quite smart with this kind of stuff, but not with Elastic Agent job. So you have to go back and we'll start from the scratch. So let's create the resource group. Let's call it triad. I don't remember. Some of the resources require small lowercase, some don't like dashes. Try it. Just the default. I don't want to add tags. Create. Yeah, create. Now I have my resource group, so I can create the SQL database. So I need two for this demo for portal. I forgot to run my clock. And so I'm going to create two SQL databases on two Azure SQL servers. And that's going to be this resource group. And let's call it JobDB. Maybe we'll start with portal. And I don't have the server name, a server, so I need to create one. So it allows me to create a server here. So I can have job portal job server. And I will use the SQL authentication, just my login. Perfect. So I'm just creating the Azure SQL server, and this will be the agent one. So I need to configure the S0. Where is it? All right, they changed that a little bit. Here's one, sorry. Two different menus. So basic would be the cheapest one. And for the agent, you have to use a bit more expensive, which is a standard. So I'm going to have S0, which is almost 13 euro per month. So that's that expensive. So I need to do this. And it doesn't really matter what I pick here. I need to have the public endpoints, and I need to set up the firewall rules. So for the services to talk to each other, and for my current IP address, so I can connect with SQL Server Management Studio, because not all this configuration is possible within Azure portal, or it's convenient also to use DSQL. And all these things I can go default. They added the new ledger thing recently. So now default create. So that is going to create a SQL database for my agent, and I need another one for the target. So let's go back, create the SQL database, create the database. The resource group is triad, portal, target DB. I want to create a new server. Same credential. Okay. And for this one, I can change the config to the basic one just to save some money. I don't need to pay for this one, and I can show you that the target can be basic, and it's 3 times less than the standard one. Networking, I need to do the same firewall rules. Security, this stuff can stay. Tags, I didn't use tags on purpose for this demo, but when you are working with Azure, it's nice to have some tags. So then when you have multiple resources, you can easily find them or bind them together. So let's create this one. And yeah, so I may probably need to use some tags in my demos as well. Let's see if it's created. So the both SQL databases are being created now. So we need to wait a while, and we can go to, it should take maybe about 1 minute to create one SQL database. At least that's what happened when I ran the PowerShell. So it shouldn't take too much. Well, it's running over 2 minutes now. So maybe it will be 3 minutes for one database. So let's go to the Elastic jobs. Oh yeah, the server is done. What's been created? Portal job DB. Perfect. The one I wanted to have now. So let's go to the Elastic job agent and create one. And we can have portal target portal agent. Subscription is the same. I'm going to select the database now. So I want to select the server where I have the S0 database, and from the backup I can show you. Can I show? Yeah, the target server. That's the basic one. I know it's basic. I didn't create this one here in Portal because the other one is being created, but it's the basic one. So I don't have the database to pick. So I need to pick, like from the backup, I would have to pick this one. But oh yeah, the target, that's the one I created, and it doesn't show here as created yet, but it has to be S0 at least to be a job database. So I can pick that database, click OK, review it, create, nothing fancy here. And just, you can download templates if you want, the ARM template. And we are going to create the agent. And while it's being created, this one should take a minute. So we can see the job job server. Let's connect in Management Studio. So I have a T-SQL script to create all these credentials. Let's connect here. This one, because I have one T-SQL script and I will be switching between two servers, between the job server and between the target server, because I have steps for target and the job. So that's more convenient this way. And you will see the order of the credentials, why I'm doing this. That's the target server. So I will show you quickly the job database. Open in Explorer. This one here is my Docker container. So it's here just to show you that what MSX and TSX is it's when you right click on the agent on premises, you have the option multi-server administration, and you can select the server if it's a master or a target. So that's how you configure the MSX and TSX on premises. Okay, so I can close that one now. Let's open the job server and the portal job database. And it's being created, or it has been created already. Yeah, it's created now. The agent has been created. So it was a perfectly empty database, no tables, no other objects. But after I've created the agent in Portal, it added all these procedures and tables, and you can see the names are very similar to what's in MSDB on premises. And the other database here is just empty database because I haven't created and not diagrams. Go away. Tables. It's empty when it opens. And let's see, yeah, the agent is created now. Perfect. Go to the resource. So what I'm going to show you here is the limitation of the portal for the Elastic job agents. I'm in the agent now, and I can see jobs, but I cannot create any job here. I can see the target groups, but there is no way to create the target groups from portal, like from GUI. Same for credentials, doesn't work here. So that's why I'm switching to T-SQL and using my Management Studio to create all these objects using T-SQL, because it's not possible to do this in Azure portal. And I hope it will be fixed when the service is no longer preview. Okay, so let's go back to the slides a little bit. We had this plan. So to create the targets, to create the job database, create the agent, and now we need to create all these credentials. And I'm on a job server, and I need to switch to the job database. So I have to use this menu. It doesn't work if I select portal job DB. That was my name. Portal job DB. Portal job DB. It doesn't work in Azure SQL Database. The use statement is not supported. So we have to pick that from the drop-down list here, which makes it a bit difficult when you have a script and you could just run use and like it on premises. So I'm in the job database, and I'm going to create the database master key with my very secret password. And I'm going to create the database scoped credential. It will be job credential to execute. This is a mistake I did because I had a different demo and I replaced Go word with something different. So that's why Go is not working here. So yeah, I've created the job credential to execute the jobs on targets. And this credential is to refresh. I call it refresh credential. You can call it whatever you want, but this one is to refresh the list of the databases on Azure SQL. So now I'm going to switch to the target. So this is all in the job database in here, the source of the jobs. So the source of the jobs needs to have permissions to run the jobs on targets and see what are the SQL databases on targets. That's why I'm creating the credentials on the job side. Now I have to switch to the target server. So I'm going to run here, and the target server in its target server. And I'm going to create similar to the on-premises. So I'm going to create login and for both credentials from job database on a target server, on each target server, but I'm going to create logins in master database. So this is the login for refresh. This is the login for job. And now I'm going to create a user for refresh in the master database, because when that connects to the Azure SQL server, it needs to see the list of databases. So that's the refresh credential. And in every target database, I need to add the credential to run the job, because I won't be running jobs against master database. I will be running jobs against target databases. So that's one query. And that's the other one. And here is the extra permission, because I will be creating some tables. So I need to add DDL rights to change the context. I need to create the table. And I'm going back to job server. So that's done, job server. Now the credentials are done. So the database master keys are done, scope credentials are done, logins, users, all done. Now the extra permissions here, just last 2 points. We need to create the target group, and there is a sprock to create the target group, and I have to be in job database. So I'm going to create an empty target group and add some members. Yeah, but this one is the wrong server. Sure. Yeah. So I need to add the members. And what I'm doing here with this proc, so I'm adding the member to the target group with the membership type include. I can also exclude specific objects. The target type is a SQL server. That will be the whole Azure SQL server instance. And you can select shards or the elastic pools or just databases. But in this case, it will be just SQL server. And the refresh credential name will be refresh credential. That's why I'm using this name, because that is the parameter in the in this proc, and the server name of the target SQL. So put that here. That creates the member. Now we can see the target group name and the membership. Perfect. And now I'm going to add the job. So there will be a job on the job database. It will just run once, well, whatever you decide here, but it's very similar to what we have on premises. And for the job steps, it's a bit different, because we have the job name, step, command, and so on. We have also the credential name and the target group name, because we want to run this stop against the specific target group name. So you can have a job that has multiple steps that are running against different target groups, which is pretty cool. Create that, confirm the job. So the job is created here, and the job step is here, the tsql. That's the command. The job credential is the one that runs the job against the targets. It's not the refresh credential. All these settings similar to what we have on premises. And we can also kick off the job here. So I'm going to kick this job off now. We can observe the executions from this table. It's waiting for child, job execution. Step succeeded, perfect. So now when we go to the, so I was about to create a table. It was just create a table called table. Yeah, I'm very creative with names. And when I refresh that, that table has been created from the job server on the target database that I added. So it wasn't the job was not on the same server. And if we go back to the portal, let's refresh that portal. So now that's the history, but we have the job. We have the job when it's the start time, end time, all this stuff, but we can't do anything here. I'm right clicking, left clicking, double clicking. It just doesn't allow me to do anything. We can see the target group, but I don't even see the targets. I don't see the definition of that target group, which is, well, not very useful. Same for credentials. And we could see here the history of last executions, but that's about it. That's like you see the duration, but yeah, we have the information. The job Elastic Jobs is currently in preview, and you can see the list of currently executing jobs below. So maybe that's just the limitation of the preview, and that I don't know what's here. Yeah, so that's the portal, and it's the creation between the difference between you cannot create everything in the portal. You have to use T-SQL as well, all the stored procedures. So you have to switch between two places, because you cannot create objects in Azure from Management Studio. So you have to use Portal or some other tool, and then you have to switch to SQL Server Management Studio. So that's a bit painful. And before we go to the easier way with PowerShell, I'm just going to quickly tell you why someone might consider creating the Elastic Jobs. So first of all, the agent, the known from on-premises SQL Server, is not available in Azure SQL Database. So whenever you have the tasks similar to the on-premises versions and you want to run them in Azure SQL databases, you need a job scheduler, task scheduler. So that's why Elastic Job Agent is very helpful. And that's the management tasks, whatever you do, you're doing with your databases. And also the example I mentioned before, when you want to collect information from different sources and store them in the central table in the job database. And now I will show you the easier way, the better way, in my opinion, because it's possible to run this script. I will show you this whole script that has, well, it has lots of lines, but you can run the whole script and you'll just create the whole environment and much more, because it is going to create more databases, more servers. So let's start with the basics. That's the plan, similar to the one on the slide. And I'm going to use two PowerShell modules. One is the az.sql, the SQL module from Azure, from Microsoft. Currently, it's version 3.7. I think it's from this year. Yeah, it was updated recently. And I'm going to use DBA tools for running some SQL commands. So as I was checking previously, not everything was possible with the commands from this module. So I had to do some hacking with DBA tools. So like in previous example, I was hacking with Management Studio. So I'm hacking here with different module, but I'm still staying in the same PowerShell session. Apologies for PowerShell ISE. I should switch to VS Code. But hey, that's possible. You can do this within the ISE, and it's just one script. And like I said, if I run this now, it will just create all the things. We just need to wait 10 minutes and we'll be done. So let's crack on with this one. So I have a DBA Tools version from 2 weeks ago, maybe this week. And the latest Azure SQL module. I think I set my credentials already. Yeah. You have to connect to the Azure with connect-AZ account. I did that already, so I don't have to put my credentials. But after you do that, you don't have to provide any credentials to any command. So now I'm going to repeat my steps from Portal, but with PowerShell. So I need to create a resource group. So I'm going to create a resource group. That should take a few seconds. And as previously, I need to create job and target servers. And as you can see, based on my notes, it can take between 3 and 15 minutes. So that's Azure. That's always a surprise. It took me 3 minutes on the other script before this session. It was like an hour before this session. So maybe it won't be that long. So I'm going to run this script now and just explain what I'm doing. It's running. Okay. So here, let's make it a bit bigger. This is a PowerShell splat, the way to combine the parameters for the commands. So I don't have to put all these parameters here in one line. It's basically, this is my line right now, but if I want to provide all these parameters, it will be much longer. So it's a bit more clear what I'm doing here. And you can see that I'm also not giving the fixed hard-coded names for resource group or location. I intercepted that when I was creating the resources. So when I was creating the new resource group, I saved it to the object, to the variable as an object. So then I can refer to the resource group object and to a specific property, which makes it much more easier. And especially for the demo, I don't have to change anything. If I change one name and then want to run this later on, I just use the variable. So it's very, very good. So yeah, I've created 3 SQL servers, Azure SQL servers. It's just the servers, not the databases. And the first one is the job server, where I will set up the agent, and the 2 at the bottom are just targets. So I'm going to create some the databases later on. And yeah, it will run for a while. So I will just give you an idea what I'm going to do next. The firewall rules. I had to configure them to allow the Azure resources to talk to each other and to allow me to connect to the Azure. So first I had to intercept my IP address, and I wanted to do this with PowerShell. So I'm using the one of the website that offers API to just give you your own IP address. So I'm using PowerShell to intercept that. And then I'm going to set up the firewall rules with the command new dash AZ SQL Server firewall rule. Yeah, a bit of warning. Azure commands, PowerShell commands might be very long sometimes. It's almost like a sentence or a German word, which takes a few pages sometimes. So after the servers are created, I'm going to intercept the names and create the firewall rules to let me in to them, to the servers. And the other rule will be to allow the Azure resources to talk to each other. And one of the parameters is called allow all Azure IPs. So I'm just going to do this for the servers. Perfect, 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes. And we have the servers. So we are on the faster side of Azure tonight. So I'm going to run the rules. That shouldn't be long. So I'm just going to intercept the IP, add my IP to all new servers, and enable them to communicate with each other. Brilliant, 10 seconds. Now I need to create the job database because I have the servers now. So again, this is the config for my database. I'm using standard 0 for the job database, and we have the minimum size. So that will run for a minute. Next, I'm going to create the agent. It will be another 1 minute. And then I'm going to run to create more databases. So I will run the whole thing. Hopefully it will finish in less than 5 minutes. Yeah. So do we have any questions at this point? Is there anyone? Because it will run for a few minutes now. So maybe it's good.
Everyone should be able to unmute yourself if you have a question.
Hi, Mikey, this is Amina. Was just wondering, if you can put the link of this chat, this procedure, a PowerShell script.
Yeah, I will put that on my GitHub repo, and we'll put the link, send the link to George.
So is this publicly available, or is this your GitHub repository?
It's my GitHub repo, which is publicly available. Let me just go here.
Yes, sir. Everything that Mikey gives me, I will post information about it on the meetup, where you can find a link to this recording, as well as anything he gives me to post, or links to these his resources.
So I haven't uploaded so the scripts will be there somewhere. I will create a folder and we'll put them. Where's the chat?
Thank you. Chat is it's everything is, for me, everything is at the bottom next to the share screen.
I don't see that. Where in Zoom I can send chat?
Next to the share screen button.
I sent a chat, so it should highlight now when you should see that there's a waiting message. For me, it's on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah,
when I mouse to the bottom.
Yeah, it's.
But you're presenting, it might be different while you're presenting.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, so I will send that later, because I don't see that now. It just, I see a group of people, and yeah, I will do that later.
That's okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, it's still running, so I might try now. Yeah, I don't use Zoom that much. I usually use Teams. They are,
Yes.
I'm more familiar with Teams, but yeah, I don't know how it works. Can I send you a message? Oh, I can chat. Yeah, oh, I can send you, George. Weird. So I send you the link if you can share that with everyone.
Okay.
Oh, chat is here. Wow. I cannot. Oh, okay, everyone.
Yep.
So I had to send a message to you to see the chat. Fun.
There you go.
That's good.
So it's in the chat
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah. So that's 2021. But so I will create a folder, but you'll find it. It will be called Triad Data Platform User Group, something like that. I have only few scripts. Actually, two. One is the PowerShell, one is the SQL. So I share them. And the best part is with PowerShell, you can create everything. You don't, with the T-SQL, you have to do some stuff manually in Portal. So PowerShell is quite good. And it's still running. So we can see in the portal. So I created the database and the agent. Okay, the agent. So the agent might be still in progress. Oh, the agent is being created right now. So it should be done soon. The agent was created. Yeah, so we are waiting for the target databases now. So the new agent is created. It's just empty. And yeah, we will see. I'm going to create some jobs. So the next bit will be to create the credentials, and there are commands to create the Elastic Job credentials. It's called new -az SQL Elastic Job credential. So I'm going to use that to create the credentials on my agent. And to explain the PowerShell here, so I'm going to create so it's my password. So I'm going to store this password as a credential, and then to refresh credential here, I'm going to save the job agent that I just created. I'm going to pipe that into the Elastic Job credential command. So I didn't provide the job agent details at this point because all of them are here or will be here after the script runs. So if you open that script from the scratch and you try to run this command, it will fail because it doesn't know what the job agent is. And you have to create that here. And the same method is used here as well. So I'm passing the job DB that's created here to the command. So I appreciate it's not that simple to read when you see this for the first time, but it makes it much easier to run multiple times. So yeah, it's a bit of explanation why I'm doing this this method. So let's see if the databases are, oh yeah, perfect. 7 minutes. Azure is on fire tonight. So the credentials first. Let's create them. It should not take too long. And for the logins and users in Azure SQL, when I was working on this demo, there was no command to do this for the Elastic jobs. So I had to hack it with the DBA tools. And that's one of the commands, invoke -DBA Query to run any T-SQL against a SQL server, including Azure SQL Database, which is pretty cool. So my parameters here will be the database master, because I'm going to run this against the master database. I'm going to run this against 2 target servers. And that's my query. So all these credentials here will be created. Let's run this. And here I'm using another command from DBA tools to get the databases on Azure SQL servers. So I created 4 databases, I think 5. So instead of doing this manually, I'm intercepting the names from 2 servers here, not the names, the whole database objects. Save it to the target databases, and then in a PowerShell loop, I'm going to create user and add the role. In this case, I'm just adding DB owner because I had few things to do. So, but you would keep that with the least possible privileges. So that's going to create the logins, the users. And if you, well, I assumed you might know DBA tools, but that's the project. DBA tools, PowerShell. Someone said, I think they put that on their website, that it is a SQL Server Management Studio in command line. So if you are not familiar with this module, I encourage you to check them out. They are very good and have over 650 commands now. So you can do lots of stuff with PowerShell, with SQL Server using PowerShell instead of Management Studio. And they also have a book. So check this out, this link here. They, I think they are finishing up the book. So yeah, that's very good group, and it's open source, it's free, you can use it in your environments. Brilliant. So we have the credentials now. Let's create the target groups because we are almost done. So I'm going to give you a few details about the groups here, because in Portal I just created 1 group, and here I'm going to create 3 different groups. So one would be adding the whole Azure SQL Server, which is I add the Azure SQL Server number 1 and number 2 to the group number 1. So every database is in this target group. Using the dedicated command, it's no longer DBA tools. I can also add the databases. So in this case, I have to provide the database name to add this to the group. Oh, and if you see the difference here, group number 2 adds the databases. So I just provide the server name and database name, no credentials. And for the whole server, I provide the server name and refresh credential name, because I don't know what are the databases on the server, and the job doesn't know. So it has to list the databases on the server. So it needs the refresh credential. That's the difference between server and the database as a target. And the third group is a group with where I'm adding the server, but I'm also excluding one of the databases. So I added 1 server and excluding 1 database here. So I'm using the switch named exclude. So it will have all the databases from server 1, excluding the extra database, which is, I think, this one, the output is not really useful here. It doesn't show some, well, it doesn't show the exclude or include here by default. These are different types of targets, and I don't have the refresh credential because it's just the databases here. So yeah, the targets are done now. The last bit is to create the agent. The job. Do we have the agent? So create the agent, create a job. Come on. The job will have 3 steps. Each step will create some tables. So to show you the difference between target groups, I'm going to create different table in each step. So step 1 will create a table, step 1 table, step 2 will create a step 2 table, and step 3 will create a step 3 table. That's my creativity. So create that, and step 1 will be executed against target group 1, step 2 again against target group 2, and so on. So 1 job, 3 steps, and each step will execute on different target group. That's the confirmation. And now I will show you one more time in the portal. So if we go to the portal, I have a job created. I have target groups, but like I said, I cannot access them. So yeah, portal is not very useful here. And I'm going to start the job with a dedicated command. I'm not reading the commands because they are sometimes they are so long, like this one. It's very long, but you will get the script so you can do it yourselves. The job is running, so let's see the executions, the 10 executions, waiting for child job executions. Perfect. So we can just wait, refresh. It shouldn't run too long. Let's see if we have history here. No executions yet. In progress, yeah. The job is in progress. Again, I cannot see anything, any details about that. So it's just running. We have few commands like the elastic job execution or elastic job step execution. So I can see the steps here as well. Step number 1 and 2 succeeded. We are just waiting for number 3. We can also see the target details. All right, this one, because it's on the master and I don't have job credential in that database on purpose, so it will fail here. But all the users' databases have been touched by the job. So my idea was to create the tables in different target groups, different databases. So I'm going to use DBA tools again to this time get the table names and present you to, let me see if it's still running. Yeah, but we can do this now. So now this is going to get all the tables from all the databases on these 2 servers here. OGV means out grid view. It's an alias, so it will show me this separate window. So yes, it will slowly show up. It's not finished. And I'm going to sort that by name. Step number 2, 1, 2, 3. I think that's almost done. Yeah, I think almost done. Are we done now? Yeah,
It
I think
looks
so.
like it in your script down below.
Yeah. It's a bit weird because I run both of them at the same time, so it should save the tables here and then show them in this window, but probably because I run them both, it just runs well, shows the window first and then slowly adds the results. So I had 3 target groups. First one is in the step 1. So I had 5 databases, and the table has been created in every database. On server 1 in 4 databases, and server 2 in 1 database, because I added 2 servers, whole servers. Group number 2 was just 2 databases, 1 per each server, and that was created. So it skipped the bit here on server number 1. And group number 3 was all the databases from server 1 except this one, and we can see that the DB11 is not there. So that's how you can control the target groups, and that's really cool. That's how it works with the target groups and the elastic jobs. And I want to show you one more example of collecting the data. So the previous example is to how to run jobs against different target groups, different servers, different databases. I'm going to create the new credential called job collection. That will just collect and save the data. So I'm going to create some logins. Again, similar thing. I need to have this in my target databases, because I want to use this credential to read the data from the tables. And now I need to create the central table, and the central table will be created on the job database server. And I'm using DBA tools as well. So that's the definition of my table, and I'm using new DBA DB table command. So few columns here, and I need to include this one, internal execution ID, because that's the extra column. So if I have a table with 2 columns on my target server, and I want to collect the information from that table to my master database, my job database, I need to add this extra column. So I'm going to create that table now. And I'm going to, well, it's creating the table central output in the job database. The new elastic job, and the query will be just a server name and a timestamp. Nothing fancy, just like this. And add this here and run the job. So we can see this runs, created, succeeded, in progress, succeeded, perfect. And now I can query the central output, which is the server 0. So I created the Elastic job on target group 1, which was server 1 and 2. And now I'm going to query that thing. So I have the details about the databases and the timestamp from all other places in one central place. So that's how you can create the collection of data from different places in Elastic jobs. And to sum up the presentation today, Elastic jobs, like I put here, they are a fancy SQL agent. It's a mixture of MSX, TSX, regular SQL agent with extra options where like setting different target groups. In MSX and TSX, you can have a target group that works with CMS, Central Management Server, but it's on the server level. You have to design your jobs to run against different databases, but it's not on the target group level. The other thing, I showed you the portal /SMS, SSMS, and the PowerShell method, which is totally different, where Portal and Management Studio allows you to create the whole solution, but it takes more time. You have to click through the portal, and then you have to switch to different tool, which might be problematic if you want to automate things, or you want to deploy something and then remove that for testing. So it's a bit more time consuming. With PowerShell and two modules, as Azure SQL and DBA tools, you can create the whole thing within minutes. That's what I did with I have the separate script for backup. I just, today I was just running step by step just to make sure it works. But when I was creating that script, I was just running them all. I went for a coffee or tea, came back after 15 minutes, it was all done. So I could drop the whole resource group and recreate. So that's how easy and quick it's with the PowerShell. So I think that's all I wanted to show you tonight, this evening. I think it's evening for you all. And like I said, if you want to ask me any questions after this session, it's on your Wednesday, let's say, because it's Wednesday already for me. You can send me a message on Twitter or on LinkedIn, or just send me an email at MikeyBronowski@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and I'm open to any questions if you have right now. I will put the scripts, maybe not today, tomorrow. Well, on Wednesday, my Wednesday still, but on your Wednesday.
Oh, that's great. I'll get those posted once I get them from you, Mikey, and I'll get this recording put out as well.